So the DNC is openly ignoring, bypassing the will of the people. Why? That this was a democracy of the people, by the people, for the people. If we don't have a debate, this is not a democracy by the people. It's a democracy by them. For who? Big banks, big business, big tech, big pharma, big government, big whatever. I mean, what the hell? How is this a democracy? And how is anybody in the DNC right today going to post about thanking our troops and thanking the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our democracy and our way of freedom? Now listen, I am grateful for them, but any member of the DNC who's going to think about posting that today, stop, think, and do your fucking job.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a highly weird actor that is speaking out against the DNC and the Democrat Party establishment because the Democrats have basically rigged the 2024 Democrat primary in favor of Joe Biden because they've chosen not to have debates. Again, you know, the party that is always screaming and yelling and crying about our democracy, right? My democracy is under attack. Yeah, those people. When push comes to shove, they don't actually really believe in democracy, okay? Especially when it comes to, again, when they try to influence the outcome of elections, okay? They don't really care too much about democracy as much as they care about just trying to maintain power and control. And since Joe Biden is basically brain dead, he's very easy to control, right? And they want to make sure they keep him in office, right? Because again, he's clearly not all the way there, okay? He has handlers. So with that being said, we have to talk about actor James Van Der Beek, who honestly, guys, I can't figure out his political orientation, okay? He may be liberal. I definitely don't think he's conservative, but he may be a moderate. I'm not sure exactly where he's at. At one point in 2018, he referred to himself as a straight, white, cisgender, born Christian male, right? So I'm like, okay, that sounds like the way a liberal would refer to himself or describe himself. But he did recently move to Texas from California during a pandemic because of freedom. And apparently his wife traffics vaccine conspiracy. So who knows? Maybe he could be a little bit red pill. I don't know. But all I do know is that he is speaking out and calling the Democrats out on their hypocrisy in regards to refusing to actually have a democratic primary process while also crying about my democracy. Take a look.
So it's early in the morning on Memorial Day. I'm walking my dogs, pulling a weight sled with my kid in it, and I cannot get over the fact that the Democratic National Committee is saying there will not be a debate to decide the nominee for president. Are you kidding me? There's no debate. There's no debate over an 80-year-old man who, if he lives, will be the oldest sitting president in the history of the country. And if he doesn't live, has a vice president whose approval rating is worse than his. This guy is obviously declining mental faculties. You're putting him up in front of a podium with flashcards telling him who to call on and what the questions are going to be. And you're telling us there's no debate? What about the will of the people? and let's just not even the will of the people. What about the will of the people who voted for the guy last time? Because of those people, 72% think there ought to be a debate. Of the people who voted for Biden last election, 72% want a debate. So the DNC is openly ignoring, bypassing the will of the people. Why? That this was a democracy of the people, by the people, for the people. If we don't have a debate, this is not a democracy by the people. It's a democracy by them. For who? Big banks, big business, big tech, big pharma, big government, big whatever. I mean, what the hell? How is this a democracy? And how is anybody in the DNC right today going to post about thanking our troops and thanking the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our democracy and our way of freedom. And listen, I am grateful for them, but any member of the DNC who's going to think about posting that today, stop, think, and do your fucking job before you start posting about how grateful you are. There are people out there who are willing to die to preserve democracy, because you are not preserving democracy right now. You're shoehorning your pick and forcing it on the rest of us. And don't tell me that the other candidates aren't serious, because one of them is polling at 7%. The other one is at 19%. That is a quarter of the vote who already thinks there's at the very least some debate about who ought to be president. If there's no debate, there's no democracy. No primary, no legitimate president. So thank you to all the troops. Thank you to the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our way of life, to preserve our democracy. Let's all do our part. We need a debate. How do we have a government? How do we have a democracy if we're letting a small little back room of people make all the important decisions for us? That's not a democracy, and it doesn't work, because y'all have been wrong about a lot these last couple of years in that back room. No debate, no democracy. And I could be wrong. That's the thing. I could be wrong about all this. I could be wrong about the guy being fit for the job. I could be wrong about the other people being right, being legitimate, being crazy. You know what would solve that? A debate. Have a debate. Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? I think that this guy may be becoming red pill. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just saying that based off what I know about him, the very limited information that I know about him. Again, he did move from California to Texas in the middle of a pandemic because he realized that his children's freedom and their ability to play outside was important, okay? Again, I'm just saying, now he's calling out the Democrat establishment on their hypocrisy when it comes to so-called democracy, in which we really don't, we live in a republic, okay? In a republic and a democracy, they're, kind of different forms of government in the sense that a republic actually has a constitution, right? And a framework for protecting, people's rights. It's not just majority rules, right? Which is what a pure democracy would be, even though I would argue that a republic is a form of democracy. But again, it's not a pure democracy, right? I think that, people need to realize what the Democrats are actually saying when they talk about my democracy. What they talk about is mob rule, right? That is what they're talking about. This is why they fight so hard for my democracy, aka mob rule. Or really, just to be quite honest with you, what they're really fighting for is Democrat Party rule, okay? And this guy is figuring that out the hard way, okay? It seems to me that he's finally figured out that Democrats are full of it when it comes to the my democracy spiel. Because again, for as much as these guys talk about that, they don't seem to really care much about democracy, because again, they're telling you, they're saying, look, we don't want our guy, Joe, right? Our guy that we want to be the nominee for the Democrats in 2024 to be challenged, right? So we're going to make sure that we cancel the debates, right? And then they're going to turn around and preach to you about how important democracy is. When, you could argue that considering how well Robert F. Kennedy is doing so early on in the process, considering how he's virtually unknown to most of America, that there should be a debate, right? There absolutely should be a debate. Because listen, Biden right now, yes, he's spanking Mr. Kennedy, right? He's up, 46, 40, 58 in some of these polls. But if you look at Trump and how he's doing versus Republicans, the closest Republican, in some polls in which Trump is really dominating, he's up on DeSantis about 40 points, okay? I'm just saying, if you can make the argument that, well, Biden is up so much, right, that the Democrats shouldn't have a primary, then you can make that same argument about the Republicans. Maybe the Republicans should have a primary either, and it should just be Trump, right? Trump should just be the nominee. And that's probably what Democrats would be okay with, right? Because they think that Biden can beat Trump. But at the same time, Again, I think most people would agree that the Republicans should have a primary, despite the fact that Trump is clearly dominating and probably likely as of right now to win. But we do know that debates and things happen in between now and voting, and he could possibly lose. And because there's a possibility, I think most people agree, yeah, they should have a primary, right? I think that if Republicans decided to not have a primary, I think people would be upset and say, no, you should have a primary, okay? So I'm trying to figure out how in the world can the Democrats justify not having primary debates or not having an actual fair primary if that's what Republicans are doing, but then turn around and point the finger at Republicans and say, well, they're attacking democracy. Again, I'm just saying, like, I mean, people on the left that buy into this democracy spiel for the Democrats, they should know by now just how BS that was, right? You should have known when it came to the whole Russia collusion hoax, okay? I mean, which was clearly a plot made up by Hillary, right? Co-signed by Obama to try to smear Trump as some type of Manchurian Russian candidate, right? He's butt buddies with Putin. And it's been proven time and time again that was not true, but that's what the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party went with. They tried to literally overthrow democracy based off a fake conspiracy theory. But again, they want to boohoo, whine, and cry about democracy being under attack when they routinely attack democracy, right? They were attacking democracy when they did the same thing that Republicans did by going to Congress and contesting the election, saying, hey, I object to the election results. They objected to Trump's victory in 2016, which again, you know, they tell us that, you know, if you do that, you are an insurrectionist, right? They call every Republican that did that in 2020 an insurrectionist when they were doing that back in 2016. Again, the double standard and the hypocrisy here is so astonishing that even Hollywood actors are saying this and saying, look, this ain't right, right? It's not right that our party claims to be the party of democracy, but yet every time you look, they don't seem to really like democracy that much, right? It's just funny how that works. Again, it's not just when Trump gets elected, right, or Republicans win, they hate democracy. When you look at certain issues like Roe v. Wade, for example, Roe v. Wade being overturned, which basically made abortion more democratic, right? It actually allowed blue states to do more, right, in terms of increasing access to abortion, right? But it also gave red states the ability to restrict abortion more. And they wanted to boohoo, whine, and cry about it because the people got to decide in their own states whether or not they wanted to allow abortion. It's just funny how that works. But again, the hypocrisy is so glaring that, again, even Hollywood actors are seeing it, and they're compelled to call Democrats out on the fact that they don't want to have a primary, that they don't want to actually do what you're supposed to do in a functioning democracy, right? Which is allow people to have a choice. Democrats don't want a choice. They want you to be happy with whoever they pick, okay? And then, again, they will boohoo, whine, and cry and call you a conspiracy theorist if you call them out on their clear attempt to overthrow democracy. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.